Hi, this is Dan here. Hope you're doing well today. In this lesson, I've got 10 5-minute practice ideas for you. This came from a question. Someone said they had, 5 to 10 minutes a day, and that really was it, and what to practice in those sessions. I've got loads of ideas, but for this lesson, I'm going to give you 10. Use the chapter markings below to jump to whichever one you want to, and you can just use some of these as a springboard for your own ideas. Don't worry about taking in all this information either. I've got one link below to a blog post that's going to take you to, I've got PDFs and backing tracks for almost every single one of these 10 ideas. So you go to that blog post and you'll get those PDFs all in one place. Let's explore the first idea, which is just to play a technical exercise. There are so many things you could do here, but the idea is just to get the hands coordinated, the stamina, strength, accuracy levels up. And let's just demonstrate this. I'm going to play just a G major scale, and I'm playing a root, a 5, and a 10th, which is just the third up the octave. I'm just going through the scale, just doing that. I love exercises so much, I even wrote a whole book on them, so you can check that out if you're stuck for exercises, but really you can do anything. And what you want here is just to have an intention. What do I want from this practice session? So if you're approaching it that way, it might be just that you want to get your fingers moving, you might want to improve your technique a bit. Therefore, here I've got a bit of a string skip. Also, some hand shifts. And I'm also muting, so perhaps you're looking at these 3 ideas when you're practicing and you're really being intentional. What is it in this practice session that even if it's 5 minutes, that I want to tackle? Another really fun and useful thing you can do is play around with chord progressions. So recently I've been trying to learn Spain by Chick Corea, and there's a great solo section where there's a bunch of really cool chords, and I like to get the 7th chords and play them finger style like a classical guitarist. So you've got thumb, index, middle. That's G major 7. You can play all the notes together or separated like this. You can add a 5th in to get a bossa nova type vibe. Then it goes to F sharp dominant 7th. Separating out the notes a bit more there. So that's something I do quite a lot, and I just find it inspires me. I like the sound of it. It makes me learn the tune really well. And even if I'm not going to be playing like that on a gig or along to the song, you're actually learning the outline of the chord tones as well, so that's really useful. You can do that in any style as well. I'm sure I'll do a whole lesson on that in the future. I think every bass player needs to know at least a very, very basic 12-bar blues. There are major versions, minor, jazz blues, and just improvising with a 12-bar blues I think is something that's really fantastic for you. So I've got a metronome clicking on 2 and 4, and this is another aspect of practice. I'm always trying to work on time and feel and groove and making something feel good. So I've got a metronome clicking here on beats 2 and 4, and I'm just going to improvise a 12-bar jazz blues. For me, I'm working on a walking bass line. I'm working on improvising. That was a jazz blues, so there are a few more chords in that than there are in a standard 12-bar blues. I've got a lesson on a jazz blues. I'll put a link again down below. But that, for me, that's working on quite a lot of different aspects. It's working on technique, timing. I did a little sort of fancier fill there. I did something like that. And sometimes it's a tendency for me to rush, so I'm working on timing as well as creating lines on the fly. So I do that all the time. And by the way, hopefully a 5 to 10 minute practice session for you turns into a half an hour one, okay? Sometimes it's about getting an initial idea and then you just don't want to stop. Right, the pentatonic scale shows up in bass playing all the time. So I like to keep on top of that. It's a very good workout. And again, I'm going to show you something here where we're working on timing, but we're also working on creativity. So I'm going to play F minor pentatonic, F minor and A flat major pentatonic are the same scales. So I've got 5 shapes going across the fretboard, and all I'm going to do is just play those 5 shapes in a sort of rocky, funky style. So the idea there really, and something I always want to work on, is knowing my way around the fretboard, knowing the sort of correct notes to play, but also accuracy, and in the moment not slipping up. I did slip up a few times there, it's practice, it's absolutely fine, but I really want to work on accuracy, to be able to hit the right notes at the right time. And that's a good idea to do that, just going through the shapes, and you can go between them and work on articulations, finger style. If you're a plectrum player, just work on that. You can do anything. Hopefully you've seen so far that we're working on principles. You know, timing is a big thing, navigating the fretboard, turning concepts like a scale into music. That's, I think, very important. And I just quickly want to mention my course From Beginner to Bassist. If you're a beginner or intermediate and you're a bit lost, you don't really know what to practice, you might want to check out that course. I've got 80 videos, loads of lessons, PDFs that you can stream anytime, of lots of these lessons and how to take these scales and ideas and really ultimately create music and bass lines from them. Right, next one is just to pick up your bass and play. Now, I mentioned earlier to be intentional with your practice. Really, you want to play stuff that you're not very good at. That's how you get better. You work on the edge of your comfort zone, and that's how you pull yourself to a higher standard. But sometimes, especially if you've got 5 minutes, you just want to pick up your bass and have fun. And there are lots of things you can do here, noodling and improvising, or playing something So one thing I've recently been listening to, there's a great bass player called Saturnino. He's an Italian guy, not very well known but brilliant, and years ago he came out with his solo bass album, which I really recommend you check out. He's got a cover of Mo Better Blues, and I remember hearing this bass line 20 years ago and I've just never really forgotten it. So sometimes I'll just pick up my bass and improvise. I'll do this in A. Okay, something like that. And I will just improvise. Again, it's trying to keep in the groove. Now notice I've got no metronome or drum beat there. That's also fine. You don't always have to work with one of those. And I'm just trying to get my internal clock going. This is a very cool progression. It's, in this case, just in A major. So I'm being really soulful with my fills and playing a la Saturnino, and you've got this major blues going on. It's really just a chord progression, A, then it goes to the 4D, it goes to the 2, so I'm concentrating on the chord changes. This is a B minor here. Goes to the 5, E7, down to the E, and we've got fills just in A major pentatonic. So it's a very simple chord progression, and I might just play that for a while. Again, I'm concentrating on things that I want to be good at on bass. So I often find myself stumbling and missing beat 1, and that's fine in practice. So I'm really working on accuracy, and I'm working on eliminating any of those errors. And over time, if you do that, you just get a tiny bit better every time. Even with a 5-minute practice routine, you can get better. Let's look at a quick harmony workout. Every single major scale has 7 notes, and on every single one of those notes you can build a mode and an arpeggio. So let's do that. C major and then C major 7. D Dorian, D minor 7. Phrygian, E minor 7, F Lydian, F major 7, G Mixolydian, G dominant 7th, A Aeolian, otherwise known as A natural minor, A minor 7, B Locrian, and B minor 7 flat 5, or B half diminished. That exercise right there gives you so much information. You can improvise with this. You can go from the 1 to the 4. I'm really just playing a scale there, just making a bass line up using the mode and or the arpeggio. And after a while, you don't think about those things, you just know them. And you can do so many things with that in terms of just technique or making up, improvisations. That's another thing I do a lot of. I'll get my E string. I know I've got a 5 string here, try and ignore that. I've got the E string just droning out. And very similar to the previous example, I'm just playing chords and voicings within that key. You can do different keys, you can switch between keys, but just to keep it simple. Really, to do this, you just need to know the notes of your scale. That's a 3 notes per string starting on the 12th fret of the E, and you're just playing notes within that set of notes, to get chords. It's a bit of pentatonic there. And there are some 7th chords, and I can really get lost in this. I love doing this. It's very good for techniques, very good for your brain to just keep moving and wondering what to do next. It's just improvising. Excellent thing to do. Right, this is just one of many backing tracks I've got. Again, you can get that exact one if you click the link below. I like to just get a backing track together and just, again, it's improvising and it's timing. So definitely working on the groove. There I really just was playing quite a simple bass line, trying to match the style, trying to work on taste. A lot of this for me will be different for you, but it's just to try keep my touch, my timing, my technique together. These are aspects of playing that I really value, I really want. For you it might be, I need to work on plectrum technique, so that might be the thing you do for 5 minutes. But here I've got the backing track and I'm just trying to work out how to play some pretty simple bass lines over it and just stay in time, keep tasteful. I've had this book for nearly 30 years now, Standing in the Shadows of Motown, and it's got a load of James Jamerson transcriptions. Crucially, it's got no tab. I never learned how to read tab anyway. So here is just an opportunity for me just to sit down 5-10 minutes. It's quite meditative actually, just read music for that amount of time. It doesn't have to be, these are quite tricky. It can be something very simple. Just reading music for 5 minutes is a great thing. So here I am working on slap technique, but I'm very much working on improvisation and stringing ideas together, coherent ideas together in the moment in an accurate way. And I often slip up when I do this. So I'm in A minor, I've got an A minor pentatonic. Muting. Really key to this is that, especially this hand, is working on muting. I'm doing that a lot, sort of articulations, hammer-ons, pull-offs. Transitioning from popping to slapping smoothly. A lot of hand shifts going on here. So all of these little micro techniques I'm zeroing in on. And if anything goes wrong, which it often does, I'll stop, iron out the technique. I'll often do this as well, where I've got, if I do fingerstyle. So I'm doing an A Dorian mode. That's an excellent mode for funk. And I'll be playing just 2 strings, using those shapes going up and down, and again trying to integrate that into a bass line. This is obviously what I'm doing. I hope you get some ideas from this. If you can't play like that, just simplify things. If you don't want to do slap, use a plectrum with a similar idea, fingerstyle with a similar idea. Let's try that. Lots of things are coming together here. I've got those different shapes, this time of A minor pentatonic, but also that Dorian. And I'm still working on the same old things. Timing, touch, technique. It's very, very important you know what you're working on and you know what you're perhaps not so good at. With me, I'll very often do like this and just slip up a bit or rush a bit. So I need to stop, figure out what point did I slip up, why did that happen, how can I stop that? It's always a technical issue to iron out. And the more experienced you get, or the more responsible you get at looking at your technique, you can record yourself. That will put a magnifying glass to it as well. You can be really good at just getting better, because it's very easy to ignore, you know, things in your technique or your timing that aren't going well. And what I'm proposing for you in these 5 to 10 minute sessions, or any practice session you ever do, is to just find those moments where you know that you're not quite there. It can be quite frustrating, those. But you know, for me, you know, it's technique and it's timing all the time, you know. So look, that's just 10 ideas. I've actually got 10 more written down right here, but I thought that's going to be too much. So I will do a follow-up on this. A 5-minute practice session can turn into a 10, can turn into a 30. I have lots of people that email me that say they do 3 hours practice, and I have people that say they can't really find more than 5 minutes. I think consistency is key above all. Have goals, set goals for yourself. You know, make sure you have enough ideas to be going through every day. Anyway, that should give you enough ideas for now. Thanks very much for watching. I'll see you on the next video.